right, let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on into today's edition of Sixers Game Recap. We're looking at last night's Sixers L to the Chicago Bulls, a tough 126 to 112 loss. And look, the fact of the matter is that in this game, typically you run Chicago. You had a 12-game win streak against these guys, but no Joel Embiid in this game as he continues to hamper an injury. And that was the main difference here. You didn't have that lead anchor, that rim protector that constantly dominates the Chicago Bulls, and Zach LaVine and the Bulls were able to take advantage. This is typically a Bulls team that they don't like to space out the court. They're not a team that's going to kill you from a three-point line, but they were extremely efficient here on the night, and that's what was really a big difference here for the Chicago Bulls as they were able to shoot 58% from a three-point line, 57% from the field, and that was a big difference. This is not typical numbers from the Chicago Bulls, and Zach LaVine led the way with his 41 points, looking like C.J. McCollum, taking a page out of his book. And when you got Zach LaVine dictating the offense, knocking down shots, playing comfortably out there, everything essentially started falling into place for the Chicago Bulls. LaVine with 40. Let's look at his full stat line. We got 41 points here for LaVine. He had 2 steals. We had 6 assists. He was on here tonight. He really got the surge starting. He knocks down 3 straight threes with 3 minutes left into the third quarter to make it an 88-74 game. And at that point, there was nothing else the Sixers could do. Now, the Bulls did definitely take advantage of the fact of no Joel Embiid and the fact that we were using the small ball offense. And the Bulls do have guys that they can put at the center position to attack that weakness. They got Nikola Vucevic. They have Andre Drummond, who we know very well here in Philadelphia. And look, we definitely we definitely do miss Andre Drummond. We all know that. But Chicago in total had 45 rebounds. I mean, to the Sixers. Hold on one second. Got to get the Sixers right here. To the Sixers 38. So I mean, that's definitely going to be a big factor of it. And when you have a small ball offense, if shots aren't knocking down, which, you know, the Sixers were shooting 43% from the three-point line, about 45, I believe, from the field. But when shots aren't knocking down and you're playing the small ball offense, and when you're playing the small ball, obviously you're expecting that the pace is going to be dictated by you. You're going to get those fast break points. You're going to get your shots to knock down. You're expecting some of those things to happen for you. And that, unfortunately, was just not happening for the Philadelphia 76ers. Nikola Vucevic would have a triple-double here tonight, 19 points, 18 boards, 10 assists. He was absolutely on one. And then Andre Drummond with 6 points, 6 boards. That's just what kind of Andre Drummond does. Listen, we talk about it all the time, and Montrezl Harrell, I don't want to take anything away from him because I do feel like in this 2-game stint, I feel like he's been very beneficial. He's been contributing. He had 19 points the other night. And then tonight, he had, against the Pacers on Wednesday. And tonight, on Friday night, he has 17 points against the Bulls. So he's taking advantage. He's trying to contribute for this team without Joel Embiid. But the fact of the matter is, we talked about it in the recap prior. A 6'7" center, 30 years old, it just catches up to them. And then unfortunately, it is slowly starting to catch up for Montrezl Harrell. But you do appreciate the effort. But it's just the Chicago Bulls were just too much. And of course, when you have Zach LaVine just looking like an all-star out there. We all know what Zach LaVine is. I mean, he's obviously very athletic. We all know what he did in the slam dunk contest a couple years ago. We all know that, but he's honestly developed his game. And he's been able to be an all-around player, and it's really been beneficial for Chicago being the lead horse. And when you got a guy like DeMar DeRozan, who was a little bit quiet here today, they really did not need him per se, but it gives DeMar DeRozan some leeway because listen, DeMar's a good player. He's not a number 1 guy. And I think that the time in Toronto definitely proved that. And I think that is what bodes well for Chicago. Patrick Williams had 18 points here as well. And overall, you know, we just talked about the 56% from the field, but you know, that's really all on behalf of Zach LaVine. For the Sixers, the main storyline was that James Harden did not have himself a good game. Shooting-wise, very uncharacteristic. He still finished with 17 points, but from the three-point line, James Harden was 3 of 9. That's something that we were expecting. If we were going to win against the Bulls without Joel Embiid, you would want those numbers to be a little bit higher up for James Harden, especially at 9 attempts, 4 of 17 from the field. That was also a bit of a problem, but he was 6 of 8 from the free throw line, so he was knocking down his free throws. But overall, a struggling game for James Harden. He did add 11 assists to his tally, but the main storyline was Tyrese Maxey coming back with 26 points. This is the best performance we have seen him since coming back from injury. And in the first half, you really saw a lot of the things that made Tyrese Maxey effective before the injury. He was cutting, he was doing that cutback, and most importantly, just cutting in general is something that is a breath of fresh air and definitely is a positive, because the one thing that was deteriorating Tyrese Maxey or delaying his return was, you heard Doc say, the cutting was not there, and that's the one thing he needed to get to make it seem like that is not a worry for him to come back onto the court, and it definitely looked fluid there. From the three-point line, he did knock down. He was at 5 of 7 from the three, so he was really efficient. He was one of the only efficient shooters here tonight. But that's why I say, like, there's positives in this game, because listen, losing a game in January to the Chicago Bulls, it is what it is. Obviously, you do own Chicago, but obviously you didn't have Joel Embiid. And obviously, you've been perfect at home, and obviously, you didn't have Joel Embiid. So you're going to lose your first game here. And if you're going to lose to a team, it's going to be the Chicago Bulls. Now, look, I know we're going to hear the fire Doc, they're trash, they're garbage. How do you lose to the Chicago Bulls at home? But at the end of the day, listen, Wednesday night is not like Friday night. Wednesday night, the criticism was the fact that in the fourth quarter, you blew a lead in the midst of 6 minutes, you blew a lead. Maybe less. In the midst of 5 minutes, you blew a lead to the Indiana Pacers, who, again, we're not taking anything away, but they are the Indiana Pacers still. Granted, Rick Carlisle's done a good job, 21-win team at that point. They still are the Indiana Pacers for you to allow them to come back. All right, you got the win. Congratulations. That's what you're supposed to do. Friday night, however, it's tough to win against a good team like Chicago. And Chicago was on. They were motivated. You don't think that they don't know that the Sixers have an 11 or 12 game win streak over them? Of course they do. They keep that in the back of them, especially guys like Zach LaVine, who's been there for a while. Colby White, who's been there for a while. DeMar DeRozan hasn't liked the Sixers since his time in Toronto. So I can't take too much away from the loss, especially without Joel Embiid, because let's face it, Joel Embiid's in this lineup. There's no way Chicago is beating the Sixers, right? So it just kind of is what it is. There are going to be nights where you're going to beat a team like Chicago without Joel Embiid. I really do think that if James Harden had himself a much more dominant game, like this type of performance would have been fine if Joel Embiid was on the court. But if Joel Embiid's not on the court, you're expecting more, like closer to 30 points from Joel Embiid. Tobias Harris finished the night with 22 points. So really what you're looking for is James Harden to be your lead horse at that point. If he was, I really do feel like that the Sixers could have gotten the job done in this one. And unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. I mean, listen, you got some good... Listen, Montrezl Harrell gave you 17. Georges Niang gave you 12 points here today. He had 4 threes. When you're looking at Georges Niang, the only stat you need to be looking at is the 3-point stat. That's all you're caring about with Mr. Georges Niang. I know PJ Tucker only gave you 2 points. Anthony Melton did only give you 9 points. So to me, the main issue is the fact that you'll defensively, and perimeter defense again, here we go. Let's look at Matisse Thybulle's numbers, because we're talking about 53% from the 3-point line. Only about 12 minutes for Matisse Thybulle. So, look, the Sixers have struggled with perimeter defense. I mean, I think the Pacers shot a little less than 50%. You saw Buddy Hield had like 7 threes. So the perimeter defense to me is still a bit of a concern. I do think that intensity still has a part to do with that, but also you need strong wing players. And this is something we constantly keep talking about. I'm at the point now where I'm willing to ride with Montrezl Harrell as my backup center, because I do know that effort is there from Mr. Harrell. I still believe that, and I know a lot of people believe they still need a backup center. For me, the top priority has to be bringing in another wing in here. I know it's going to be tough for what I'm looking for, but some type of wing that provides some shooting, provides some defense, some boards, some one-on-one defense, some perimeter defense especially. The one thing that Ben Simmons really did provide was perimeter defense, ladies and gentlemen. He really did. Listen, not a lot of guys were taking threes when Ben Simmons was on them, and if they did, they would definitely pay for it. Now, Matisse Thybulle is an option because he is a solid perimeter defender. Obviously, the offense is a bit of a concern, but I just think at this point for Doc Rivers, especially on a night like last night, where you don't have Joel Embiid, there's 40 minutes to account for. Put in Matisse Thybulle. You're already running the small ball offense. Put him in in a little bit more. Put him on Zach LaVine. I mean, why was he not on Zach LaVine? Zach's cooking Melton. Zach's cooking Toby. Like, try put Matisse on him a little bit more. But honestly, nothing was stopping Zach LaVine last night. He was in the zone, and those type of things definitely do happen for guys, especially players like Zach LaVine. He's a special player. That's why I told you guys for that stretch, go get Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine would have been awesome with Joel Embiid. It definitely would have been a lot of freaking fun to watch Zach LaVine playing with this team. But hey, kudos to him. The Bulls needed that win. You're not gonna completely sweep a team like the Chicago Bulls. All right, so next up for our Philadelphia 76ers tomorrow. Tomorrow's a busy day for Philly sports fans. So make sure you're hydrated. I know a lot of people are going to be slinging the beers or the seltzers or whatever you got, the 7 and 7s, whatever you're drinking. Pace yourselves. 3 o'clock, starts the Philly sports triple header. Okay, 3 o'clock, you got the Sixers against the Pistons in D-Town. 4:25, Birds versus Giants. Obviously, that's the main course, right? Because playoffs, number 1 seed, right? We all know that. Division, we all know that. And then at 7:30, you got the Fly Guys back in action. I believe they got the Leafs. Got the Leafs at home. So tomorrow's going to be a packed day for Philly sports. Pace yourselves because it's going to be a wild one. But for right now, guys, this is one of those losses. You pick away your mistakes and you sweep it under the rug. And that's just how it works. That's going to do it for me, guys. Again, the Sixers fall 126 to 114 to the Chicago Bulls. We're off next up to the Detroit Pistons tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe. Until next time, I go by Parcero Philly. I'm telling you guys, let's go Sixers.